What's up, Shippies? Today, we are starting our first installment of the Shippys MMA podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about UFC 229 Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor. I am here with Jordan and
what is that fucking noise?
Jordan, who you just heard, and John on the other line. Y'all want to go ahead and say what's up?
What's up, fuckers?
What up? What up?
All right.
Hey, is it cool if I eat a bag of chips while I'm doing it?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. As long as it makes a lot of noise. Okay.
I got some gum if you need it.
All right, so, Jordan, why don't you go ahead and kick this off?
All right, gotcha. I apologize for the quality, guys. We're just kind of getting this thing all started here. We're going to be getting more equipment as we move on, but we felt like this is an appropriate time to kind of start it.
And it doesn't help that we're all in different parts of the country, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, but
yeah, we'll cut that out.
You know, it's Kodak with a Kodak. So here we go. We're gonna start with talking off about how hyped this damn fight is. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. We got one of the world's most profound and talented strikers to ever enter the octagon, and one of the best grapplers of all time. It's an amazing throwback to the way that UFC used to be, where you would have somebody who was almost dedicated to one style fighting a guy who's almost dedicated to one style. It's like UFC 1 all over again. But, you know, I mean, Khabib can strike and Conor can grapple, but these guys are going to be really trying to stick it into what they do best.
Yeah, I agree. I do like it. There's a hint of nostalgia that comes with it.
Yeah. And what really gives it a level of excitement for me personally here is that we've been asking for this fight for a long time. I mean, this fight has been talked about since they were both on UFC 205. I mean, since Conor's been the lightweight champion, we've been talking about him having a serious matchup within that division, whether it be Khabib or Tony Ferguson. These are two things that we've been talking about for a while, and now it's 1 day away. And thank God they both gained weight. They're both looking healthy. We're not having to worry about finding a replacement. This is the best case scenario. And now we're going to watch these two experts in their craft go head to head.
I think this is going to be a fight that answers like the question whenever Conor was coming up. The ultimate what if he runs into X. Because everybody thought that question was going to get answered with Chad Mendes. Everybody thought, okay, here's a wrestler, he's a touted grappler. And now we're going to see what he's going to do against a grappler. I think people, even after that fight, people are still asking what is going to happen when he runs into arguably the best grappler. And I think that's where we're going to finally see this question get put to rest.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he fought Chad Mendes, but I think that's a good example and a bad one because neither of these guys had a full camp. It was kind of a short notice fight, and It was at 145. Chad Mendes is a lot smaller. This is a true one-on-one grappler with time to prepare for each other. So it'll be interesting to see how they're they make the necessary adjustments. You know,
and not only that, Chad Mendes was actually dominating that fight on the ground. He went for a submission, and he did get a little careless with it, or Conor slipped out. Either way, he capitalized and got out of it.
Exactly. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's go ahead and dive right into, you know, the records that these two guys have. Why don't you go ahead and go along with that there, Hoffman?
Well, we can go ahead and start with Conor. He's 21-3. His 3 losses all come by decision, correct? By submission, correct?
As far as yes.
Yeah, only one of them has been in the UFC.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so in chronological order, I think the first, I guess, tested fight that he actually had was against Chad Mendes.
Yeah.
Which I think it showed that he has He's got heart. He can persist. He can overcome. And
I think that this is the Chad Mendes fight is the one that everybody's going to use to compare this. I think that's the most important fight leading up to this fight, because if you look at all of his opponents, who else can you compare? Who else can you compare Khabib to? You know, you don't have a pool of people that are in any way, shape, or form similar to Khabib.
I would argue.
Chad Mendes is the fight that everybody's going to base this fight off of.
And even Chad Mendes isn't the perfect example. Chad Mendes has great takedowns, but his control and top game is nowhere near the level that Khabib's is. I mean, it's not an amazing comparison because they're two very different grapplers. And we use that as the only example because that's the only real wrestler he's fought. I mean, you could say Eddie Alvarez, but he's not a true grappler, and not in the sense that Khabib or Chad Mendes is.
But yeah, when Eddie Alvarez is coming up, everybody, you know, he is known as a kickboxing guy. He does have a wrestling pedigree. However, obviously, it's not as big as somebody like Chad Mendes is or Khabib.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, Khabib is Chad was not 100%. We did not see 100% Chad Mendes that fight. We will be seeing 100% Conor and 100% Khabib. So this is where this gets laid to rest.
Right. Where the question is, who wins, Khabib or Conor? Well, we get that question answered. And tomorrow, we get it answered tomorrow. We find out who is better. And I think that going into this, that's the big question. I mean, when we look at the Chad Mendes fight, I think there's three main things that we can take away from that, right? There's three key points. One is that Conor's wrestling game and his ground game leaves a lot to be desired. He had some good takedown defenses in that fight, but he did get taken down. And what made that fight interesting to look at for me, and of course, that was a while ago. Conor could have improved in a lot of areas. But Conor got taken down and controlled. He wasn't really trying to get out of off the bottom. All he was doing was slapping the sides of the head of Chad Mendes, hoping and kept looking at the ref, hoping that he would get stood back up. He wasn't trying to slice guard. He was comfortable with just lying there on his back and getting punched in the face and elbowed in the face. He wasn't doing anything that showed me that he really knew what he was doing on the ground. He wasn't threatening submissions. He wasn't, placing feet on the hip trying to get Chad Mendes off of him. He was just lying there, waiting for the ref to break them apart. And I think that, that's kind of a scary sign.
Right.
But
and the way that he eventually did get the escape was through the submission. It wasn't because he got out. It was because it was a bad submission attempt that sacrificed position, which you won't see Khabib do. Khabib's not going to sacrifice his position for the submission. He's just not going to do it. I think Khabib's comfortable with not going to the submission. You see, any of his submission victories, he softens them up well and truly before it comes to that. He is perfectly content with riding someone out until they're essentially useless.
Exactly.
I think Chad was a little bit too hasty in trying to apply it, and that's where you saw the mistake.
Exactly.
So on the other side of that coin, and I guess a positive light for Conor is what he showed he could do against Jose Aldo, which Khabib likes to rush in. Aldo rushed in and got knocked out in 13 seconds.
100%. Yeah,
he's the master of timing.
Shifting arguments. There is that ultimate back pocket question. It's what if Conor goes out there and he essentially does exactly what he did to Jose Aldo? That's the thing that's everybody's wondering, and all the people, even people who aren't too attuned to the sport, they saw that happen. A lot of people saw that happen. So most fans and most people who are seriously into the sport of MMA, they're wondering, okay, what if he does though? What if he does go out there and starch him within the first couple?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? You cut out.
It's a question that has to be asked because he has that power.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a possibility. Conor does have that ability. Going back to Chad Mendes, right? We saw when he got taken down and he was getting pummeled, that the moment he stands back up, he's dangerous again. The moment the fight is standing, he has the ability to end the fight. He was losing that fight.
That's true.
It would be hard-pressed to find a person that would think that he was winning that fight. But the moment he stood back up, he finished it. With going into a fight with Khabib, if he stands back up, that doesn't guarantee that Khabib's still going to win. He could still end the fight. But yeah, like when he fought Jose Aldo, you know, not only did he knock him out, he knocked him out while walking backwards, right? Yep. He was able to convince Jose Aldo to play right into his hand. I mean, he was practicing that punch in the back right before the fight. It's
the famous footage.
He knew exactly what was going to happen, and he prepared for it. So that's borderline insane that he was able to do that and do that well.
Right. I think that's you know, as much as hardcore MMA fans might be turned off by it. You know, you gotta realize the hype is there. It's somewhat founded. You know, it's a guy who's able to do that. You know, that's something that's very rare in the sport. He truly believes that he possesses that power to knock somebody out at all times. And going back to him being a dangerous striker all 5 rounds, that's entirely true. If you look at the Nate Diaz fight, even when he's ragdolled and he is tired, he is drop dead tired. He doesn't, you know, his cardio isn't nearly what it was in the first, second round. He's completely, his game is starting to decrease. He's still an absolute dangerous striker with not much in the gas tank.
Yeah,
those the power to put people away.
Yeah, those punches were still hurting Nate Diaz.
Yes.
Nate Diaz, however, he's got, you know, a thick layer of, you know, fat surrounding his brain or something. You know, he's had a lot of concussions in his day. So, but it's interesting to bring up Nate Diaz is 2 things. One, the first time they fought, Conor didn't fight that fight smart. He went out there and was like, I'm going to throw everything I have into every punch and get the knockout.
Right.
And Nate Diaz has been knocked out before. That's the thing. Nate Diaz has been cracked. He's been TKO'd. The man has 11 losses at that point on his record. Right?
Right.
I mean, you're going into a fight with a guy who can be knocked out. It's hard, but he can.
Yep. And
Conor was not able to do it. This was a bigger guy. He was fighting at 170, sure, but that should add power to your punch.
Right.
Nate Diaz is a career 155-pound fighter. He's a career lightweight fighter. That's what he's always fought in. That's his weight class. And he wasn't able to do it. Now, the first time, that was a mistake. Second time, he's a little bit more tactical. But the thing that stood out for me is, one, he got big hits. He even dropped Nate Diaz a couple times, but he didn't capitalize on that, meaning he was not going to go to the ground with Nate Diaz because he wasn't confident in his ground game.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
And he got tired in round 3. There were points in the fight where he had to jog away from Nate Diaz and with his hands on his hip, sucking in wind. Now, you could say, okay, well, that was because it was at 170. It's a different weight for him. He's not used to that weight, you know, and that's a valid thing, but you can't take away the fact that the man does have cardio issues.
Right. And maybe not even that he has cardio issues. I just think, you know, there's levels to it, right?
Yeah.
And if we're talking about kings of cardio, Nate Diaz is up there. So I think his cardio happened to outshine Conor's for that cardio. And like you said, he was going balls to the wall, both barrels, everything he had, because that's what he thought. I'm going to put this dude away as soon as fast as I can. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for him. But he came back in, you know, in the second fight, and this is what I think is important. This is one of the factors. When he had time to prepare for that, when he had time to prepare for that rematch, he did win that fight. Some people thought he didn't win that. I think he definitely won that fight.
And I think the big thing that really separated them, that showed on the judges' scorecard, is how much control he had of the octagon.
Right.
Yes.
He was the one applying pressure in that fight.
Exactly. For the majority of the fight, he was the one. He was the one who was applying pressure, dominating the fight. And I think that's what's important. I think as much as he says he doesn't want to strategize or doesn't focus on his enemies that much, it might not be him, it might be his coaches, but when you give him time to prepare for his opponents, you know, he flourishes. If you look at his 2 big iffy fights in the UFC, his loss and his fight against Chad Mendez, where we thought he was not going to win, those were both short notice fights, right? I think there's something to be said about the amount of preparation that his camp and both him and his camp put into a fight.
Agreed. And I think a good example of that was Eddie Alvarez. Justin, why don't you go ahead and give a breakdown of that fight? What did you see from that?
Well, there was a lot of hype around Eddie Alvarez's wrestling ability, but we really didn't see that many attempts to take him down. But the attempts that he did make, they were stuffed, like, effortlessly. And
they were also really
showed,
sloppy, and they weren't set up at all.
No, they weren't set up, and what we really saw from this fight, more so than we saw against the fight with Aldo, is how precise Conor's striking is, and his ability to maintain composure.
Right.
Like that was at the time that was the biggest fight in the history of the sport, and cool, calm, and collected went in there. It seemed like he couldn't miss whenever he threw his hands out there.
Yep.
He made Eddie Alvarez look like a clown. Like.
Yeah.
No disrespect to him. It's just that was not his fight.
UFC 205 was prime time Conor. That was exactly what him and his camp want every single time.
That's the best
fight
Conor.
Was there.
Yeah, that's the best Conor we've ever seen. That's Conor that when they. I mean, obviously he's hoping for the 13-second knockout. The 14-second knockout. I understand that, but that's not normally going to happen. Peak Conor in a regular scenario is the Eddie Alvarez fight. That's how the camp wants the fight to go. That's how they want Conor to act. That's how they want Conor to strike with that, that counter-punching ability. That's what they want. They want him to do exactly that. Yep. He was composed, those precision, that timing, and, that takedown defense. They want that to be reflected in every fight. They do, and, just by judging from a lot of their camps, a lot of Conor's camps, the people that he trains with, it doesn't look like they're really banking on it going to the ground. They train more getting away from it than what to do on the ground. At least that's what it sees. I mean, we don't see all of the training camp, of course, but when he trains in camp, he's training with people who aren't really good wrestlers. I mean, there's nobody at SBG that stands out as an exceptional wrestler,
Right.
You got Dylan Dennis, but he's more jiu-jitsu. And his takedowns, are really nothing to be impressed about. I mean, his fights, the fights go to the ground by not him taking people down, but by him getting taken down or pulling guard.
Right. And again, like you said, there is high level jiu-jitsu talent in that camp, no doubt about it. I'm sure they have some guys who can hit doubles in there. But like you said, I don't think the problem is the coaches, because a lot of people can help you, or a lot of training partners and coaches. A lot of people can help you defend against that double leg. I think you're right in that it doesn't seem, at least from what we've seen, it doesn't seem like the priority is on the ground game. It looks like he wants to take Khabib over into a stand-up fight. He wants to hit him quick, hit him fast, forget about his game plan. I think that's what he's done in past fights, and I think it's what he thinks is going to work for this fight. But we might see something totally different, and we don't know what's going on in his camp. We don't know exactly what he's preparing for. But if I'm his trainers, that's what I'm doing. I'm making sure I'm playing worst case scenario. Take down early in the first round and being just dragged down the entire fight. But like you said, it doesn't look like that. It does not appear that that's what the focus is on.
No, and I agree with you. And then a good example of a fighter who has amazing jiu-jitsu, who is a pretty decent striker, went into a fight thinking that he was going to own the fight, was when Khabib fought RDA.
Right.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm going to cut. That is not a decent striker. That is a world class. That is a world class striker.
Yes.
Yeah, I take that back. Yeah,
he's a world class striker, and he is excellent on the ground.
What was the combo that he hit on Lawler? Some record-setting combo.
Oh, yeah. No, like he was good back then, and he's still good now.
Guy trains under Rafael Cordero, and then afterwards, after he leaves Rafael Cordero's gym, starts training with Jason Perillo, with Michael Bisping and the likes of Chris Cyborg. I mean, you want to talk about top-tier striking combined with an amazing jiu-jitsu game. And it's RDA. And there's a perfect example. There's someone who has, if you want to take a good example, look at that fight. Someone who is obviously not afraid to go to the ground because of how highly touted his ground game is, but also has a pretty great stand-up game. Pretty amazing high-level stand-up game. But
and he's got good takedown defense too.
You saw him get demolished. I mean, absolutely demolished by Khabib.
And he's a strong dude.
Yeah, and Justin, what would you say are those 3 points? Those three key factors that Khabib showed in that RDA fight.
That he can beat a world-class striker. That he not only could take down a guy who is hard to take down, but he was able to hold him there for majority, if not most, of the fight.
Right.
And then if you want to fast forward a couple of years against the next big guy that he fought was Michael Johnson, which was also UFC 205.
Yeah.
Right.
Michael Johnson is not an easy guy to take down. He's always demonstrated he's got great takedown defense. He's got really fantastic jiu-jitsu. And, he trains with a lot of really high-class fighters.
He does. Yeah, and on top of the takedown defense, he did a good job getting his back to the fence when Khabib went for a takedown, but the fence doesn't stop him.
No,
if anything, it helps him.
And that's what Conor did against Eddie Alvarez. Every time that Eddie Alvarez went for a takedown, Conor's go-to was to put his back against the fence and use that to escape the takedown. And if he does that on Saturday, he's in for a very, very, very bad night. Because the fence will not save you. In fact, that's what Khabib wants. He wants you to put your back against the fence so that he can overpower you and out-grapple you every time. That's what he does, and that's what he does best. And it showed in that MJ fight. He got the takedown. He avoided submissions. So your jiu-jitsu doesn't mean anything. He's going to sit there. He's going to get on top of you. He's going to maintain that top control, and he's going to mess you up. He's going to crash you. But we saw one error in that fight, and this is what everybody's been referring to as we move forward to this, Khabib versus Conor fight. Because his stand-up didn't look anything stellar there. And, I know it's kind of overplayed. I think it was more Joe Rogan talking than the actual incident. But he took some left, and one left in particular that everybody keeps referring to.
Yeah, he did take far more damage than he should have. But, it wasn't as bad as they had made it out to be.
No, but that same strike coming from Conor could end the fight.
Yeah.
Certainly could. I think to flip this around, I'm going to go ahead and contradict my earlier self here. But I can't imagine a scenario in which John Kavanagh and Win Roddy are not preparing him for something like that. They have to have been looking and studying all of his footage, all of his wins, and making a plan based on that. So I think we're going to see something that he's going to, at least maybe in the first or second round, we're going to see something he's going to use to adapt to Khabib's style. Whether it be he squares up more, whether he lowers his stance, whether he tries to avoid the cage and try to do something kind of like what Cody Garbrandt did against Dominic Cruz, where forces the fight to the center. And keeps it from becoming an outside engagement. I think I gotta believe that's what two high level coaches and all of his sparring partners are helping him do. Because I can't imagine a scenario in which they haven't looked at one of Khabib's fights and gone, okay, well, we're just not going to prepare for that.
But something we have seen in the past, I can't give you a specific example, is when Khabib is pushed up against the fence on the feet. I don't want to say he spazzes out, but he's a little wily when he throws a combo to get out of where he is, and in doing so, he could get caught.
He does not like his back against the fence.
No, he wants to be the one applying the pressure.
It's funny. It's almost reminiscent of an early DC.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. They do both train at AKA, so I'm sure you can see a lot of consistencies between the way that they fight.
Right.
Another big fight that I kind of want to dive into, because it's interesting to show that how Khabib has every fight he gets better. We talk about how Conor's getting better in his fights, but we rarely hear anybody discuss how Khabib has gotten better.
Yeah.
So before, when he was fighting RDA or Abel Trujillo or moving back, he wasn't really able to apply his pressure or try anything different. It was the same thing every fight. And granted, yeah, all of his fights are relatively similar, but we see another aspect that he throws in there from the training camp. When he fought Edson Barboza, okay, he showed a lot of fighter IQ in that fight because he knew Edson Barboza was a good kicker. And for Edson Barboza to win, he needed to be able to plant his foot and throw some deadly kicks. So what did Khabib do? He applied pressure, he kept moving forward, and he made Edson Barboza walk backwards. And when you're walking backwards as a kicker, you're not going to be able to sit there and plant and throw that kick that you need to throw to win the fight. And by doing that, he was able to put him in the position that he wanted to. He's able to get the takedowns when he needed to, and he's able to completely dominate that fight the entire way through. It was a nasty fight. At no point did Edson Barboza look like he had any dominance or had any confidence in himself. And he started with round one. The moment he got taken down, the ground and pound that followed seemed to suck the confidence out of him. Not only did he get pounded on, not only did his cardio suffer, but his psyche suffered. He looked like he was already defeated. Like his eyes widened, and he was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing?"
And if I'm being honest, if I had to make a solid prediction for this fight, I think it's going to be very reminiscent of that fight. I think it is. I think what we're about to see is an exact remake of that fight, where you see him try to employ his stand-up game plan, and it just gets stifled, like everybody else who's gone before him.
And another thing about that fight is Khabib took 2 spinning heel kicks to the head. One of them landed flush. So it showed that he's
I don't think either of them landed like right on the chin. But
no, but one of them was blocked completely, and the other one landed. Like he doesn't have a glass chin like Eddie Alvarez does.
No, you can't say that Khabib. But that's the unknown quantity. Is he hasn't fought a serious, heavy-handed striker yet. You know what I mean? Besides maybe RDA, but he's never really been hit. So we don't know how good his chin is, but we can't sit here and pretend like Connor's going to get a 13-second knockout or he's going to just starch him like he did Eddie Alvarez. Because from what we've seen, his chin is bent.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then he showed that he can stand up with somebody against Ali Quinta too. Like he took him down for the first 2 rounds, and then rounds 3, 4, and 5, it was just stand up. That's all it was.
Right.
And he worked the jab, and that basically that's all he needed to win the rest of that fight.
Yeah, and a lot of people use this as an example of, this is why Conor is going to be able to stop the wrestling. I think that's a bad argument. What Ali Quinta had to do to win that, wrestler battle is he had to drop his posture from standing upright to hunched over the whole fight. If you watch it, he's hunched over and standing low the whole fight, preparing for level change. But what that did is sacrifice his ability to duck punches. So Khabib just said, okay, and jabbed him into next week.
Yeah,
he kept his hands low. It was completely outside of Ali Quinta's comfort zone. We see Ali Quinta I honestly believe he's a potential contender for that belt. Whenever he gets more experience.
He also is one of the few people to escape Khabib's ground game. Like he popped out. That's why he stopped trying to take him down.
I think he's a amazing fighter. I don't think he deserves to be as low in the rankings as he is, especially after all the fights he's had.
And not to mention, the man trains under Matt Serra. So let's not pretend like he's not training with world-class grapplers all the time.
Yeah, he's in the same camp as the likes of Chris Weidman, Aljamain Sterling. He's got all the tutelage of under the amazing teacher Ray Longo. So in Connor's camp in terms of grappling and wrestling, they're not even on the same playing field. There's a lot of good jiu-jitsu has a problem with takedowns. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Ali Quinta has a wrestling.
Yeah.
He wrestled.
Yeah, he did
wrestle
wrestle
or college or something. Yeah.
I believe you're right. I'm not entirely sure, but I think there's something along those lines that he has a wrestling background.
Yeah, he had something. he had a tool against him, which is I hate to say it, it's more than Conor has right now.
Yeah, and then another thing is we saw improved stand-up. It wasn't perfect, but we saw that Khabib, his stand-up is relatively improved. I mean, significantly since when he first entered the octagon.
No, again, like what John said before, like it is reminiscent of basically Daniel Cormier. It's just like watching the same evolution over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I understand that you have to go soon, Monroe. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cover quick overview of the advantages, and then we're going to give our predictions.
Okay.
All right. So cardio, who's that for? Who has the cardio advantage?
I think that's it. Go ahead.
I say edge Khabib.
Yeah, I think we're all agreeing here that Khabib has. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. Size wise, I'd say even.
It's pretty even. I think Khabib stands at an even 5'10", whereas Conor stands at an even 5'9".
Conor's got the reach though.
Conor's got that reach. He's got a pretty good reach. What is it? Is it? I might be wrong here. Is it 74 inches?
Yeah, it's 74 inches. Khabib has 70, so he has a 4-inch reach advantage, I think.
Right, and that'll definitely come in handy against a striker like Khabib or a striker like Conor.
Right, and then the thing that counters that for me is that I think Khabib's the bigger guy.
He does look a little bit stockier. Conor's got some size too. I was watching him in some of his the embedded videos, and he looks big. He looks like he's got a little bit more muscle mass than he used to.
Yeah. So I dare say though that it's about even.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
All right, so striking, are we all in agreement here on this one?
100%.
And same for the ground game.
Yes,
ground game definitely could be. I mean, these are the two best strikers and ground fighters in the octagon right now.
Yeah,
and not to say that either one is bad at the other. Conor does have a pretty decent grappling game. He just I believe he's now a purple belt, maybe a purple belt or brown belt. I'm not entirely sure, but he does have a good ground game, and he does have high level. As much as as silly as Dillon Danis is, and his program, he is a high level grappler. Gunnar Nelson, high level grappler. So he is training with the best, as well as John Kavanaugh and Lynn Roddy. They're all high level jiu-jitsu artists. I don't think
his ground game is ready yet.
Right. Yeah. It's obviously, I don't think it's enough.
All right. Then, who has the advantage who has the stronger chin?
This is an interesting argument. I don't think we've had Khabib's chin tested enough to make that argument. I don't think he's gotten once. I don't think I've ever seen him get hit cleanly enough to accurately measure his chin. I've seen Conor take hits on the chin pretty good.
Like the Diaz fights.
Pretty good. Yes. Even Floyd Mayweather. He popped him a couple good times.
Yeah.
And I think that fight was stopped early. I think he still had the chin and the composure to continue the fight. And
I don't think he had the stamina to finish that fight.
The stamina was the issue. I think
that made it look way worse than the damage.
The ref I think was misjudging his lack of cardio for his for concussion related symptoms.
But at the same time, he wasn't defending himself intelligently because he was so exhausted.
Exactly. I don't think that was on his brain yet.
For me, I say it's a toss-up. It could go either way. I don't know enough to accurately give the edge to either fighter.
Right.
Yeah. So, me honestly, I'd say it's even, but slightly toward Conor because we've actually seen it and we're sure.
Right. I think I'm going to go with that as well. Conor says, if anything, it has been tested. And
I don't see Khabib landing a shot, at least early, that's going to knock Conor out. I don't see that happening.
All right.
And I want to say he took some shots from Chad Mendes, and Chad Mendes,
Yeah.
5'6".
But then again, he did get hit by Nate Diaz that made him do that panic shot, that desperado shot, and get submitted.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'll give a slight advantage to Conor, but I say it's so minuscule the advantage that I'm not really going to give it an edge just because we don't know. We don't know.
Yep.
So who is going to be applying the pressure? Who's got the octagon control in this one?
I think we all know this answer. Yeah, it's going to be Khabib.
Oh, okay.
I give octagon control to Conor, and I'll tell you why. I think Khabib has the most dominant pressure. I think he has the most dominant style in terms of what he's able to do to his opponents. But what makes me give the word octagon control to Conor in this instance is that Conor has been able to successfully control the center of the octagon in almost every single fight. Every single fight. We've never seen him panic or have to rotate or really do anything. Almost every time, he's able to stand there in the middle, move forward, and take control of the octagon. So I think in terms of octagon control, I give the slight advantage over to Conor, actually.
But if the game plan is to catch Khabib on the way into it, when he's rushing in or going for a takedown, I don't know. He might be hoping Khabib is putting the pressure on, because he does have power on his back foot. When he's backing up, he can still knock people out.
So I got Conor in octagon control. What about you guys?
I think AKA's system is literally designed for octagon control. I don't think anybody in the business does it better than AKA's system with overall octagon control.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Khabib as well.
Yeah, I think Khabib all the way.
All right.
So who has the mental?
Ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
Who has the mental edge?
This is interesting. I think I'm not going to give an edge to either because I think they're both in their mind know that they're going to win this fight. As much as we think Conor's going to lose, I don't think that's what Khabib Conor foresees. I think he sees himself as still as a legitimate threat.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously still sees himself as the double champ. So.
Yeah. I have a slight mental edge with Khabib. Now, this might sound like a big surprise to a lot of people because they'll say, oh, Conor got in his head from their press conferences, or Conor seems to be the more fresh head. I'll tell you why I give the mental edge to Khabib here. I think that Khabib has this mentality of just, I'm going to dominate you. And Conor's had 2 years off, He's had 2 years off. That's a lot of time to build some ring rust. And I think that the reason he didn't take the fight when Tony Ferguson pulled out is because I think that deep down in Conor's psyche, something that he's not going to say or that no one's going to be able to read from his face, is that he feels like I might lose this fight. And he has a lot more chips on the table. Khabib has a belt, sure. If he loses this fight, that's going to take away a lot from him. But Conor has put a lot more chips on the table. From the
true. He has to be feeling the pressure a little bit.
Yeah, the bus incident puts pressure on him. The whole spot, all of his thing rides on him being a legend in the octagon. And if he gets smashed, if he loses, there goes everything. There goes he gets Ronda Rousey. So I think Khabib goes in there. Khabib seemed calm. He seemed frustrated and irritated, but it just seems like he has the calmer head, and the cooler head prevails. And yeah, Conor's done this crazy thing and able to walk in the octagon and become ice cold. But I think this is more emotional for Conor. When Conor fought Jose Aldo and was going absolute nuts, I felt like he was doing it to mess with Jose. Whereas this seems to be less of the offense and more of the defense because of the incident that happened. So I think Conor's going there with a little bit of a chip there. I think that Khabib has a mental edge.
I think I agree with you. But I think Conor, right now, if I had to guess, obviously I don't know, but if I had to guess, I think Conor mentally is at the same exact place that he was going into UFC 202. I think he's in the exact same mental state. He's, going into his first fight with Nate Diaz, he thought he was going to demolish him, and he ends up losing. I think what you're going to see is someone who's more focused and more determined to win this fight. I think he's probably taking this a little bit more seriously than he does his other fights, and I think that might be a factor. If anything, he might be a little bit unsure, but from what we've seen, that could be a good thing for him. Feeling that pressure might be something that helps sharpen him more than anything.
So what about you, Justin?
What's up?
What do you think in terms of mental edge? Who do you give it to?
Well, I do agree with what you said about how, in their own mind, both of them probably think that they're going to win tomorrow night. But I don't know. Like, it could go all the way back to just the the way both of them were brought up. I mean, like Conor didn't have the easiest life, but he also didn't grow up in a war-torn region of Russia. He didn't grow up in the mountains with nothing.
Yeah.
His choices weren't. Conor didn't grow up with the choice of be a good wrestler or become a terrorist. Like it's.
Yeah.
So you're giving the edge over there to
I feel like Khabib has been mentally prepared for this fight longer than Conor has. So that's why I'm going to give it to Khabib.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna be the wild card, and I'm gonna say my final vote, Conor, mental edge.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and then what's the next one there, Justin?
Who's got the edge in this fight?
Well,
all things considered.
I say that there's two more factors here. I would say who's able in position, who's able to impose their will better than the other guy. For me, I say Khabib. The moment he gets his hand on you, your entire game plan, everything you've prepared for. You've probably been preparing for takedown defense, ground game, the whole camp, and you're done. You hit a wall and you can't get past it. There's nothing you can do. I think Khabib has the edge on the ability to oppose their will better than Conor can.
And what's funny is that you can say the exact same thing about Conor's mental game. But I mean, it's like we're just looking outside in. It doesn't look like it's working. But the second anybody lets Conor inside their head, your game plan's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a toss up. I think it's all about who lands that first shot, whether that be a single leg shot or that be a left hand shot.
Yeah.
I think I think what's going to determine the imposition. I think it's dead even until somebody lands that first crucial strike.
No, first strike. Yeah. I'm with it.
Whether it be a takedown or a cross come down the middle.
Yeah, I'm with it. So Hoffman, what were you saying, that we're going to get down to final predictions there?
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. What
so you go ahead and start. What's your prediction?
Honestly, I see Khabib winning via TKO in the third. I think he's just going to take him down, wear him out. Third round, he's going to do it again, and I don't think Conor's going to tap the strikes. But then again, you never know until you're in that situation. So I feel like the referee's going to end up stepping in and stopping it.
Okay. What about you, John?
I'm thinking round 2 submission.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking we're going to see something that's reminiscent of Nate Diaz. I think. Well, not necessarily in the dominating the strikes. I think he's just going to get taken down. I guess I would say more like Chad Mendez if Chad Mendez's fight went well. If he'd finished the submission, I think he's going to take him down early, first round. Maybe 2 minutes into the first round, he's going to get taken down. He's going to get rode there. He's going to get fucking tired. He's mentally defeated within those last 3 minutes of the fight. And I think early 2 minutes into round 2, I think we see a submission because Conor rolls over his back, and very much like what happened with Nate Diaz.
I agree, but I'm saying in round 4. I see a submission in round 4, and here's why. I think Khabib's going to be out there for blood. I think he's going to be focused on landing shots and not getting submissions. But in round 4, after you've been beating a guy down for 4 rounds, I think that at that point, Conor's going to be so gassed. He's going to be begging to get out from underneath him. He's going to give him a submission. Khabib's going to be tired probably from taking him. Not saying he's going to be gassed, but you get tired. I think he's going to say, you know what, forget it, go for the submission. Khabib wins by submission round 4.
All right. Wild card question. Y'all ready?
What's up?
If Tony Ferguson wins tomorrow night, is he the next contender?
100%.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
No argument.
Yeah, without a doubt. If Tony Ferguson beats Anthony Pettis, there needs to be the, I call it, the cursed fight needs to be scheduled again.
Yep.
And I feel like they should put it on the same card as Holloway and Ortega just to get Dana's blood going.
Yeah.
All right, so that's about it. I understand, John, that you have to go. So
Yep.
UFC 229 is tomorrow night, and you will hear from us again next Friday.
Yep, and be sure to like and subscribe, guys. We're getting this channel started. We appreciate you guys watching us. We're gonna move forward. Or probably the quality of these videos is gonna get better as we move on. We're just kind of getting this started now, but yeah. Thank you for tuning in.
And feel free to leave your hate and debate fodder down in the comment section.
Yeah, if you agree, let us know. If you disagree, let us know. But fuck you. So.
See you later, Shippies.
All right. See y'all later.
Chef.